I'd like to call the Town of Wappinger Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for February 25th, 2025 to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. B, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Delacourt? Mr. Hernandez?
Here.
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Mr. Donato?
Here.
Mr. Lawrence Leonard?
Here. Before I jumped on to the adjourned public hearing, I think we wanted to put something on the record that there was a matter that was going to be on tonight that has been adjourned by the request of their attorney.
Yes, the Barzalo application was adjourned by the request of the attorney. I do see the applicant in the audience here this evening. You are not on the agenda and will not be speaking on the matter this evening. You are happy to sit and observe the meeting, but your matter is not on this evening's agenda.
Is there a reason why it was adjourned and
At your attorney's request,
based on
your attorney asked that it needed to be rescheduled to another evening,
when was that communicated?
earlier today.
Today, the day of the meeting is being adjourned.
Correct, at your attorney's request, who is your representative. If you wish to discuss this further, it will be at another time. We have business to attend to.
Okay.
Thank you, Counselor. We're going to jump on to adjourned public hearing, appeal number 257839, area variance, Charles Augustus Kless Jr. and Brianna K. Troy, seeking the area variance section 240-37, 240-30B, district regulations, R20 zoning district, where an accessory structure cannot be more than 800 square feet on an acre of land. The applicant is seeking a variance of 1,400 square feet, 30 by 40 garage, and a 10 by 20 overhang, thus requesting a variance 600 square feet. Where no more than 2 accessory buildings shall be permitted in any one-family residential district, the applicant has 2 existing structures and is seeking a variance to add a 3rd structure. The property is located 9 Regency Drive and is identified as tax grid number 6357-01-040670 on .95 acres in the town of Wappingers. Good evening, sir. How are you tonight?
Good evening. Good. How are you?
John,
Good to see you back.
we need to accept the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I skip over that?
Yes.
I apologize. We just need to accept our minutes
Yeah,
from
go for it.
our
I'll make a
February
motion.
11th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Now, we need to reopen your public hearing, correct? So is that an informal motion?
Yes.
I'm making a motion that we reopen the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Charles Kless, reside 9 Regency Drive, Town of Wappinger, seeking a 600 square foot area variance to build a 30 by 40 garage with a 10 by 20 overhang. I'm also seeking a variance to add a 3rd accessory structure to my property. If I could just have the floor to start, I'd like to give the board a little background on myself to maybe better understand me. And, you know, my life, my reasons for the building that I'm requesting. I've been rather standoffish to the board, and I apologize for that. It's not my nature, it's just public speaking was never my forte. First off, I'd like to start with stating that the project is very important to me, and it has been something I have dreamed of building since I was a child. I grew up in the town of Poughkeepsie with the town of Wappinger's mailing address, and I've always considered myself a Wappinger's resident. My father was a mechanic for many years, working numerous dealerships throughout the Hudson Valley, and as a child growing up, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to work with him some days and see firsthand what he did for a living, and from time to time, get some hands-on experience as well. He always instilled in me to never get into the field of work due to pay structures, lack of benefits, physical deterioration of one's body, etc. Regardless of what he said in that time, I developed a true passion for anything with a motor. Unfortunately, we never had the space or money to build a garage of any sort, and I tinkered from time to time in a small shed on my mother's property, dreaming of the day that I could finally have a space to call my own. I will never forget the look on my mother's and neighbors' faces when they saw me, at the time a 12 or 13-year-old boy, driving a lawn tractor that a neighbor had put out on the curb for free because they couldn't get it running, not 2 hours prior. They were in shock, all shock and amazement. As the years went on, I found myself gravitating towards like-minded people and spent countless hours with tools in my hands, working on whatever I could get my hands on. Looking back, I realized having access to tools and the freedom to tackle personal projects was more than just a hobby. It was the foundation of my future, Those experiences pushed me towards success, giving me the confidence, skills, and mindset that ultimately led me to the career I have today. Just as those hands-on experiences shaped me, I want to give my son the same opportunities to tinker, build, and learn by doing, and most times failing. In a world that is increasingly digital, I believe it is more important than ever for kids to develop real-world skills, problem-solving abilities, and the confidence that comes from creating something tangible. I want him to know the satisfaction of fixing, building, and figuring things out on his own with the guided assistance, just like I did. I understand the board has had some concerns about the size of my proposed building, as well as the openness of my property, and I'd like to discuss that further. I would also like to address some procedural concerns that I have. During the public hearing on 2/11/2025, there was a lack of public comment during the meeting, which I believe is a crucial part to the zoning approval process. I believe that allowing public input on this matter would provide additional clarity and support for my project. I have a few neighbors in attendance tonight, and given the chance, they may or may not like to speak. Regarding the board's size concerns, the garage size has been carefully planned to meet my specific needs. It will allow for vehicle storage, tool storage, and personal workspace, which will not produce any additional traffic or noise. The larger size ensures the functionality of the space and allows me to keep those things enclosed and organized. Additionally, the larger garage will reduce clutter by allowing additional storage of items and will improve the overall appearance of my property. The garage will not alter the neighborhood's residential atmosphere, and as a result, the change will be minimal and will not negatively affect neighboring properties. I would like to point out that this building is in line with, or even smaller than, similar structures that have already been approved in the same zoning districts that are comparable in size and have been built and are functioning without issue. I have some examples of those that I'd like to discuss. 276 All Angels Hill Road. I'm gonna start the closest to my property to the furthest. It's 0.6 miles away from me. It's on an R20 zoning district, 1.3 acres. The first story square footage of the house is 1,556 square feet, and they have a 1,200 square foot garage. We have nine Sylvia.
Mr. Gress, excuse me, can
Yep.
you just slow down a little bit? I'm trying to
Yeah.
take some notes here.
Yeah, sorry about
So what was the first address?
It was 276 All Angels Hill Road.
Thank you.
Do you have a site plan or anything for that one? or-
I don't, it's
Okay.
public information.
I'm going to look it up. I'm not
Okay.
playing on my phone.
Yeah, not a problem.
So I just want to interject briefly to advise that when you bring forth comparables, the board does have the opportunity to look at what the zoning regulations were at the time those were constructed,
Okay.
and whether or not the town board has amended the zoning since then to give its indication of what. So you're welcome to do that. I just want to be clear, this may require the board,
That's fine.
if they do close the public hearing, to look into these a little further. Yeah.
And I just want to confirm, the zoning, as far as the area square footage, that was voted upon 2012? The last known?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I would have to look, and then we would look at when these were constructed.
But I will say, somewhere around there, we put in controls of the 600 square foot
Right.
max. And then, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, we put, depending on the size, if you had an acre, it could be 800 and
Okay.
went up to.
All the properties that I'm listing fall under the 40,000 square foot, so under
Right, but
under
if these
80,000.
buildings were built prior to that local law,
Just, yeah.
if those buildings that you're going to bring up were built prior to that local law, there wouldn't have been a cap.
Okay.
They wouldn't have needed a variance. As long as they met the setbacks in the yards, they could build it. But some of those large structures, and it may not be any that you bring up,
All right.
were some of the reasons the local law was put in,
Okay.
just for the record.
Yep, not a problem. I have 9 Sylvia Drive. It's 0.8 miles from my property. It's R20 zoning on 0.49 acres. First story square, for square footage, I'm just going to go first story because that's the footprint of the house. It's 1,200 square feet. I don't know when the garage was built. It's somewhere around 1,100 to 1,200 square feet based upon the measuring tool on the zone map. I have 14 Gold Road. It's 2.3 miles, R40 zoning, 1.3 acres. Same thing, first floor, 1,300 square feet. Garage, 1,200 square feet. That was built in 2018 after the last amended law. I have 309 Myers Corners Roads, 2.4 miles from my house, R40 zoning on 1 acre. 960 square foot building, 1 Aaron Sioux Drive, 4.7 miles, R40 zoning on 1 acre, 900 square foot garage. I have 7 Montfort Road. I accidentally skipped over this one, 2.2 miles, R40 zoning on 1.6 acres, 1,050 square foot garage. I have 136 Stony Kill Road, 6.5 miles from my house, R80 zoning on 1 acre, first floor of the house, 692 square feet. And this was voted on less than a year ago. The board voted on a 3-5 vote on 3/12/2024 to approve an addition for a total of 1,242 square feet, and that's on 1 acre of property.
Hey, what was that address?
That was 136 Stony Kill Road.
Excuse me, are you talking about all accessory structures, or this sounds like
These are-
that's in addition to a house?
These are all accessory structures. That was in addition to an accessory structure.
Oh, okay.
136 Stony Kill, that was.
So, you know, Mr. Klaus, when we look at these, they're taken individually. Each
Yep.
case
Yep,
is done,
okay.
and the judgment is made on that particular. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out, because 2 weeks ago, the board brought up that, you know, a comment was made that anybody who built these, it was on much larger property, and 2 other board members chimed in, yes, much larger property, but I have a list of properties that have pretty close to the same acreage as me that fall under the same zoning requirements, and they all have 1,200 square foot buildings. I have 20 Circle Drive, 6.9 miles from my property, R20 zoning on 0.86 acres. First floor of the house, 1,700 square foot. Square footage of the accessory structure, 1,200. I have 14 Circle Drive, 7 miles from my house, R20 zoning on 1.48 acres. First story square footage, 1,367. Square footage of the accessory structure, 1,156.
Mr. Clussy, real quick, did you go and visit each one of these properties, or did
I-
you just basically do them on a computer or?
On a computer, I visited some of them. Obviously, I'm not going to go snooping around other people's properties, but most of them you can see from the road. Additionally, the board raised concerns about visibility and the potential for neighbors to see the garage. However, I would like to point out that the board visited the property on February 8th, 2025, when growth is non-existent, which may have led to a misperception of visibility. During the spring, summer, and fall, the natural growth of the property effectively blocks any view of the area from my neighbors and properties behind me. I do have some pictures I can provide to the board if they would like, if the board would like to see them. I am more than willing to plant trees or shrubbery along both sides of the property to block side views if the board feels that is necessary. My neighbors in attendance currently reside on both sides of my property. They would be the two to see it most of the time. Considering the evidence and examples I have provided, I respectfully request the board reconsider the size of my garage in this case. I am committed to complying with all necessary regulations and ensuring my project has minimal impact on the surrounding area. I ask for your approval, and I am open to conditions that may help address any remaining concerns. Thank you for your time, and also, just so you guys know, I will be willing to get rid of that overhang, which would drop the square footage of the building to 1,200 square feet instead of the 1,400 that was originally requested.
In terms of plantings, because I know last meeting we had asked what you would be willing to do. You know, I know there's costs associated with that. Did you look into kind of what you would propose for that in terms of
Yeah, I mean,
type, spacing, quantity?
I'm open. You know, something every 6 feet, every 8 feet, whatever the board feels would be necessary.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys want to get pictures of the property in the summer.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you so much.
Sir, what was the overhang intended for,
It was storage of implements, tractor implements for my little tractor.
behind the garage?
Yeah, behind the garage, yeah.
Thank you, B. And we're looking at the backyard here. and
That's the backyard. That's probably 20 feet from,
The swale?
if you're looking straight in the backyard, 20 feet to the left of where the garage was proposed to be built. Yeah, the houses on Brown Road, spring, summer, fall, we can't see them. It grows in pretty thick right there.
So, Mr. Klesse, we're handed a package of, are these from you, sir? Did you,
They're
different size garages?
the board requested, visual representation of what the.
Would you be willing to do any of these that are in here? There's a 30 by 36.
Or do you know which one you purchased, like which of these?
So those are just ones that the company has built previously.
I ask because some are like much more industrial,
What you
commercial
see,
looking, and
what
some.
you see is exactly how it's gonna be. It's metal siding, 1-foot overhangs. If you want, I could point out one that probably looks close to it.
Yeah, yeah, which one do you think would be the closest?
One of these.
Oh, and
These are the last, probably the first page here.
Okay.
The garage doors, in my mind, are just a little bit taller. I believe those are 8 or 10 foot.
The very first page,
Very first page, yeah.
30 by 40,
30 by 40, yep.
with 12-foot height.
And you'd have a similar configuration, right? You'd have two large bay doors
Two bay
facing the
doors,
street.
one man
and
door.
a single entry door.
Yep. 6 windows, 2 on each side, all the other 3 sides. And then, with no overhang, I would get rid of the man door I had on the back of the building.
So Mr. Lorenzini asked if would you be able to do any of these, and he mentioned smaller sizes.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on that 30 by 40. I've thought about this very thoroughly over many years, different layouts, and I feel like that's what I want.
Without the overhang.
Without the overhang, yep.
So we're still talking about a 1,200 square foot building.
1,200 square foot would be a 400 square foot variance.
And with the height be, it would be the 12-foot high to the east?
14 foot, 14 foot.
Oh, so it's taller than this
A
one?
little bit taller, yep.
Okay. Do you know the height of the garage door?
13 foot was the tall one, and then it was either 12 or 10. I could look quick.
And this is all for personal, this.
This
no-
is all for personal, yes.
No business will
Nope.
be conducted there.
Nope.
I'm just noting on personal access, it looks like there's some equipment stored in the back. Now, I don't know exactly when this photo was taken, but is your intent that anything that's in the rear will now be in the garage?
Hopefully the boat will be sold prior to the building being built. But other than that, the tractor, I don't know if the tractor's in the picture that you're looking at. My Jeep, if that ends up in there.
So you can't have a car in the backyard.
Okay.
It has to be in a garage or on a driveway.
Okay.
You can only have one boat or one trailer.
Yep.
You get to pick.
Okay.
So if the boat goes,
Alright.
that Jeep or whatever you have can't stay there. So basically, we just want to see the side where you have
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
stacked up.
Yeah, there's nothing over there right now, but aside from the boat, the snowmobile trailer, and the implements
Do
that
you have a camper or anything
stayed.
there?
No.
Looks like maybe it was a couple trucks he was
Right.
tinkering, because that looks like the boat there.
I think he had some.
Do you know how this compares to the height of the house? The height to me is a bit of a concern.
So the total, I don't know the exact height of the house. The total overall height of the building, I can get you, I had it written down and I forgot to transfer it.
Some of our consideration here is to maintain the overall residential feel to the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Right, so having, a 14-foot large garage behind a residential house, it's a consideration, right?
Yep.
I was looking at some of the images of the precedents you sent, and some of them are much more contextual. They look more like they're longer lots. It's more like a barn off to the side. It kind of fits the context.
Right.
That's something that we consider and we look at when we approve these. The 12-foot height door, is that to accommodate something specific?
Total height of the building with the 412 pitch would be 16.33 feet.
16?
Yeah. I know due to the way my house is set, it's kind of raised from the road. I know it's at least 20. And I apologize. What was your question in regards to the garage door?
The height of the door, is that for something specific? Again, like that's
The height of the door
it's
was-
like a trailer, that size door,
The
right?
height of the door was thoughts of buying a camper at some point.
Okay.
That was it. I don't want to frame out a building and then 3 years down the road, we've talked about a camper and then now I've got nowhere to put it.
I know, sir, that we had talked to you about, I mean, I know your property is that pizza pie slice. That comes very narrow into the front of your property, goes very wide in the back of your property. Your neighborhood is very tight. I mean, I know you know that because you live there. I don't have to tell you. I think the concern of this board was that basically that garage was gonna kind of stick out like a sore thumb, to use a phrase that.
I mean, I don't even think you're going to be able to see it from the road really unless you're in a perfect spot.
I don't believe it's from the road as much as it is from everybody's backyards.
But in the summer, you're not going to, it's all overgrown.
Maybe further on behind your house, sir, between the next road over, but between your neighbor's house and yours,
Well,
there was not much.
I have my neighbors here, maybe they could comment on that.
I'm just saying, there was not much between your neighbor's house. I mean, I could look almost all the way down to All Angels from your back property. I mean, you know, that's,
Well, like I said, I'd be willing to, plant shrubbery on both sides of the property, or, trees, whatever the board deems is necessary.
and you wouldn't be wanting to maybe go a little bit smaller with the garage, maybe the 36, the 30 by 36. I mean, I'm just wondering why you include, is it just for the fact of looking at a picture?
It's just for ideas. The board requested, different sizes, different shapes, so.
I mean, honestly, like, the footprint bothers me less than the height in terms of the context in the neighborhood. And, the height, I don't think they have any regulations on it, correct?
20 foot.
20 feet? Which, I mean, with a steeper pitched roof, looks normal when it's kind of a flat, and not as much.
I'll change the pitch of the roof to the highest I can build.
The garage door that size makes it look industrial, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Unfortunately, a camper's 12'6" to the top of an AC unit, so,
I understand that.
yeah.
There's no way to rotate the garage 90.
90
so that
degrees?
the short side of the garage is facing the street, not the long. I know it wouldn't be as convenient to pull things in.
We probably could.
I'm just trying to think it would minimize
Yeah.
views from the street potentially, and you'd be looking at,
If that
maybe
would
a
make,
side that isn't just a big garage door.
Right, right.
You'd be looking at maybe
Right.
windows instead.
the only thing is I'd be looking to put the garage doors on,
Yeah, well, then you'd have, I guess, a singular, or you'd have,
probably just a single door. I mean, listen, if that would make the board happy, I'd be willing to discuss it. If they would rather have the building turned sideways, the other way, I'm sure I can make that work.
well, the views from the neighbors would be greater, but the views from the street would be less.
But if you mitigated that side wall with some
If
plantings,
you mitigate with plantings, then, maybe,
they would break up that big, broad appearance of a wall on the side
yeah.
with, say, arborvitae or something else that, usually starts at a 6 foot.
I mean, having the short side facing the street and having rows of arborvitae, I guess, every, 6 feet on center?
Okay.
I think
I'd be willing to do that.
I would feel better about that. I don't know, anyone else's opinion?
I would just note too, some of these look much more commercial than others.
Absolutely.
The second one, in my opinion, I'm not a voting member of the board, but the second one, to me, just has a bit more of a residential feel than the first or the third. I mean, the third, it's got that ornamental, but the first one just seems very commercial.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thinness of that roof line on
Yeah.
the first one, right? You kind of see the thin metal edge, whereas on the second one, they have a, fascia piece that kind of covers it and makes it feel a little bit more residential.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking ID 755?
Yes.
755.
Like I said, I'm not a voting member of the board,
Right,
but
right.
I agree, 755, just going through this, 755 feels residential, 001 feels residential, 010 is, you picked the most commercial-looking one.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was the one that they had that was close. Now, what were you saying looks better about the other ones?
Well, I think just the detailing in all the other ones, like the way the siding is treated, the way the roof is treated.
I know the pictures are kind of terrible. But I do plan to have, like I said, 1 foot overhangs like 010. That should be a 1 foot overhang with soffit.
I mean, it's just the added trim work on some of the other images, I think is what makes it
I
move
got you.
from the
So you're talking like the
commercial realm.
wainscot?
And the trim around the garage doors, the wainscot helps, the fascia around the roof line helps.
Makes it look more residential.
The change in, siding on the second one, I think helps. The
Right.
little piece on top of the other
Oh,
ones.
like I said, I mean, I'd be willing, if the board feels that, it needs a wainscot, I'd be willing to have them do that. Like I said, I plan to have the eaves trimmed out,
Yeah, like there's a context in the town for having, historic large barns.
Right,
And
right.
you obviously see them on very small properties because they used to be farms and you subdivided them and made them smaller. But, they still have a residential feel to them because they look like an old barn, right?
Right.
Like, I think at least my goal with a lot of this is making sure that we don't just get metal commercial sheds on properties that
Right, right.
feel out of context to the neighborhood.
I understand.
Personally, I'd like to see the smaller size and made it 90-degree turn.
Oh, what size was that be? What would that be?
The 30 by 36, is it?
And you said and turn 90 degrees?
And turn 90 degrees.
Which number are you looking at?
He's looking at, well, 22,
Oh,
I think.
it doesn't matter, because
Yeah,
you could change the siding.
Right.
Okay.
It's just the measurements, the
Gotcha.
dimensions.
I think you're right. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the 4 feet is inconsequential. Like, it's still just the image of looking at the thing. Like, if you shave a little bit off, and you go with the first option, it's still gonna look like a industrial garage.
Yeah, but if it's turned 90 degrees, you're
Turning
looking-
90 helps 100%.
I think they all look industrial.
Yeah, they do, but the ones with the wainscot and
Yeah, anything you could do to make it look more like
Residential.
a residential barn
Like I said,
style
I
would be helpful.
I could count on doing the wainscot. If, the building that they're building right over here, the new, I think it's 7,000 square foot garage.
Yeah, that has, again.
The trim work on
doesn't
that,
feel as
the trim work on that
commercial,
is
right?
exactly what I was going for. It's black trim. It was charcoal with black trim.
well, that's in question, right, Bart? What color it is?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have color printer that can handle.
No, that's an inside joke.
Oh, well.
So I don't know how we would condition the aesthetics.
So you could condition that it not be steel, that it be wainscot or some other more residential fabrication. The one thing I would like added is that when I asked you what you wanted the overhang for, you seem to wanna just put a lot of stuff back there. And that's a big issue for enforcement when people have garages and barns and they
Barbara.
and sorry. And when they have garages and barns, they put everything they don't want to see behind them, and then I get called from all the neighbors. So, like, you have a lot of stuff in your yard now, so whatever this board decides to do with this, please don't put everything behind it. Find somewhere inside this.
Will do.
Okay? But you can condition your approval on not specific, it has to be wainscot, because it depends what the manufacturer will do, but that it has to be in a material that's more residential. and you
So,
can-
so all the pictures I provided are all metal siding. They change up the color of it and they do a little trim work on it.
Right.
I mean, I think it's how it's detailed, right?
Well, the devil's in the detail, and you can also add about putting some plantings still.
Yeah, I mean, because that trim where you see kind of the breakup in the wall on 755, I think, makes a big change in it looking
A big
from
difference.
commercial to
A big difference.
residential.
Yeah,
It's not just a metal building stuck.
Listen, I agree it looks better. I'm not going to discredit that.
I mean, for lack of a different.
It was a
yeah.
budget thing when I got the quote.
No, I mean, we don't have the additional information, and obviously I don't want to push you back to another meeting. I mean, are we able to condition that you match the trim package on 755?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
And then Barbara would have to confirm that that happens.
And if you can't, you might have to come back.
Okay. I don't think it should be a problem.
So I just don't want us to forget, I think there's individuals from the public who are here to comment as well.
I mean, the only other condition I think we should discuss is the plantings.
So the overhang
One
is
side, both sides. I think the overhang is
both
gone.
sides. The overhang is gone,
He
Yes.
correct?
agreed to eliminate the
Yeah,
overhang.
I'll get rid of the overhang.
And are you talking about a 30 by 40 shed garage?
So he's talking about a 30, it would be
30 by
it would be
36.
basically this one is what you'd be looking at now, right? Because doors on the short end, 30 by 40.
Correct.
30 by 40 or 30 by 36?
30 by 40 is the one they're looking at.
Yes, as far as aesthetics is concerned.
Oh, we're not talking about size at this time.
Oh, I thought we were
No.
talking about size. I thought I said,
No, I thought we were talking about the aesthetics, the wainscoting and the trim. Because you could get that, the same thing at the
I'd really like
30
to
by
know what size
36.
we're talking about, though. Are we talking about a 1,200 square foot garage, or are we talking about a 1080?
I'm talking about 1080.
I was talking about 1,200 30 by 40.
Yeah, I think the detail of the aesthetics of the building is the most important thing. I mean, I'm not worried about the 4 feet right now as much as the commercial aspect. Especially with the extra tall door, which I understand the application, I understand the use, but it does make the building look more
Industrial.
commercial.
Does the board think that it would look better with just a single garage door on the one side?
I think a single garage door with even a access door or window next to it would again make it feel more residential.
More residential.
Okay. I could plan to do that.
Is there a lower garage door that still works with a trailer? I don't know how tall trailers are.
12'6" to the top of the AC.
Is that how
so
big trailers are?
I was at my
Okay,
smallest there.
yeah. I mean, I'd rather the trailer be in a garage than in the yard. I would guess neighbors would likely agree with that.
Would anybody in the public like to come up and talk about this variance before the board right now? Please. Sir, just need your name and address, please, for the record.
John Fleming, Regency Drive, Wabages, I live next door. And like he said, you mentioned that the last time, that we're about neighbors in the back. You can't see nothing in the spring, summer, fall. You only see it in the wintertime.
Okay.
He's always kept the yard very nice. And I mean, I'm right next door, and you can't see anything from the road. So, even if he puts that garage, you might be able to see part of it coming from one direction, but not from the other.
And are you to the left or the right of his house, sir?
Left over.
The left of his house? Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comment. Hello, sir. Just your name and address, please, for the record, please.
Thaddeus Stanyushevsky, 11 Regency Drive. I'm on the other side of Johnny. I can't see his yard from my yard because my house juts out past. So that's all existing when I bought the house 20 years ago. So I might be able to see the back corner of the property, but that's about it. Other than that, with the difference in the height of what his neighbors can see, behind him, and what I can see? I barely see anything on his property. Certainly wouldn't bother me at all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to come up and say anything about this variance? If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move it.
Well, should we review plantings in open discussion?
I think we told him we would like
Yeah.
plantings, and he said okay.
Plantings, 8 feet on center, both sides?
I believe he said okay to that.
Yeah,
I
for
don't believe there
for
was
the
an
length of the
issue.
garage, basically?
Yeah, I'm just gonna write that down.
And 30 by 40 we're going with, right? That's what's on the table, 30 by 40?
It seems to be that a few people don't mind the extra 4 feet from the 36 to 40 by 36 by,
Did you have a height requirement on that trees for
30.
minimum height?
Do we have a what?
Height requirement for the trees, minimum height at planting?
Well, I don't know,
Obviously, it's
I don't know
gotta
their end height, you know.
Yeah, it's gotta be
the
some
starting
type of-
height
some
is,
type of fast-growing-
What do they come at, like, the arborvitae, I think they come at like 6 or so, right? Is
4
that
foot,
pretty
6
standard?
foot, yeah.
To start, and then they kind of continue.
And we're also talking rotation of the building, 90?
Rotation 90 and following the 755 aesthetic package.
Yeah, would still like to see it smaller, just so you know, Mr. Kless.
Okay.
is there anything else we need to discuss during the open?
I don't believe so.
So can I have a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I'll move it.
Can I have a second? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's closed. And now, can I either have a motion to either grant or deny the applicant his variance, which I believe is going to be for a, let me make sure, a 30 by 40 garage with the shorter 30 side facing the road, right? And these, I'm just trying to put everything on the record that we talked about here. Plantings down both sides of the building and in the rear,
Well, it would be on the property, right? On the property line,
on the
basically.
property, basically,
Yeah, so you'd have plantings in both property lines, right? It's-
to kind of block, to block the garage. And was there something, oh, the aesthetics of the building is gonna make it look more like a barn
Resemble the picture of 755.
of the 755, which is hard for people who don't have this picture sitting in front of them. That's why I'm trying to
No,
explain.
I understand that. Wainscoting,
So vertical shiplap kind of siding, a more horizontal fascia board at the roof line.
I just want to confirm, we're still talking metal skin?
I have no idea based upon this photo if this is metal skin or not.
Yeah, that is. All their buildings are
If this
metal
is metal
exterior.
skin, they have a very nice looking metal siding.
We can incorporate this page into the variance,
Number
so that it
755,
will
right?
stay with it, yes.
They said 6 foot apart, right?
6 foot high.
6 foot high. Did you want to say roughly how far apart the plantings should be?
I believe they did 8 feet, you said?
I think we said 8 feet,
Okay.
It's
Just want-
pretty wide. It's up to you.
6 feet.
Somebody just has to make the motion.
It's
either
not my
grant-
area of expertise. I don't know if anyone has more experience with tree planting.
So if he wouldn't-
Well, arborvitae's gonna grow very wide. It's also, I mean, the max height on an arborvitae is 25 feet, long-term, 20 years from now. So, you know, it is the optimum screener, you know? I hate to demand a species, you know, because there's so many that would work for you.
Yep.
Definitely spruce, but anything that's gonna give you the height.
Okay.
And the width.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want,
Yeah, yeah.
no apicals.
Yeah. No, we had pine trees when we moved there, and they just destroyed everything.
And what are we thinking, 8 feet or 6 feet on center?
I thought it was 6.
Six is probably optimal for the, you know, near future, because we want to try to screen the building now.
Yep.
Okay, with all that being said, still need a motion to either grant or deny.
I'll make a motion to grant the variance. Aesthetic condition discussed, rotating building 90, removing overhang, which will reduce your variance from 600 square feet to 400 square feet, and your building size from 1,400 square feet to 1,200 square feet. Plantings, both sides of the property for the length of the garage of 6 feet on center. Can the benefit be realized or by some other means? Doesn't seem like it can be. You have kind of an oddly shaped property, and this seems like the only location you could put anything. It's an undesirable change to the neighborhood. I think with the conditions we've put on it, it is not an undesirable change. The request is substantial. I see no adverse physical or environmental effect. The difficulty is self-created.
Have a second, please?
I'll second.
Can I have a roll call, please, B?
Mr. Delacorte?
I'm going to say yes.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Donato?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzini?
I'm also going to say yes. I'm going to tell you, Mr. Klesse, I think you talked us into it. You did a great job tonight. You
Thank
came
you.
in here, you were very well prepared. It was nice to see. So it has been granted. Good luck with everything. I hope it
Thank
all
you.
works out for you.
Yep.
You know, I know you did give a little back to us. Appreciate that as well.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Appreciate it. Appeal number 247837, area variance, Joshua Indorf, seeking an area variance, section 240-37, district regulations in an R2040 zoning district, where 20 feet of side yard right property line is required. The applicant can provide 0.9 feet for the legalization of an existing barn, thus requesting a variance of 19.1 feet. The property is located at 2505 Route 9D on .56 acres and is identified as tax grid number 6157012433907 in the town of Wappingers. Can I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
I'll move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good evening, ma'am. How are you tonight?
Good evening. I am doing well, and yourselves.
Okay.
It's good to see you all again. My name is Jessica Zalen. I am here on behalf of the applicant Joshua Indorf, the owner of 2505 Route 9D. I am an associate with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader. I'm here tonight in connection with Mr. Indorf's request for variance relief to legalize the existing condition at his property. As you know, we've been here a couple of times before. At our last meeting, the board requested that we adjourn to revise the scope of the variance to encompass both the front portion and the rear portion of the barn, as it was difficult to tell when each of the portions were completed in their entirety, although we are all in agreement that all of the location, I believe we are all in agreement, that the location of each component of the barn predated my client's ownership of the property. So again, we are here today to legalize the existing conditions of the barn. The property is located, is surrounded on all sides by municipal property. We had submitted letters of support into the record previously from the two neighbors to the south, so beyond the town's strip of land, and we are hopeful that the board is willing to entertain this variance request this evening.
Great. I just want to make sure that was republished, correct? That from the, okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. I personally didn't see it. I'm sorry. I've been a little busy. But, well, you know, we were all out at the property, and that's what brought up the whole 1.5 to 0.9 difference, because, like I said, the whole right side of that property, the whole right side of that barn looked new. or redone. I can't say it looked new.
Sure.
It looked like at some point there had been some work done on it. So we just wanted to make sure we were giving you the correct variance. We don't want to give you the wrong variance.
Understood.
However, there were some stipulations we were going to put on along with the variance. You know that, right? We were going to talk about that it can't be used as an apartment of any type. It can't be a dwelling of any reason. It can't be used as a commercial area or a commercial business.
Right.
And basically just going to be used for residential storage, which I think is what you're,
That is what we're asking for tonight. If the board is going to condition approval based on a future use of the property, which is not necessarily related to the existing ask, we'd request that it be limited to a condition that says if any bedrooms are being added, that we'd have to come before this board again. I understand that home occupations are a permitted accessory use in this district, so I don't want to foreclose my client from doing something like that in the future, but we'd be comfortable with a condition that related to bedrooms specifically.
correct.
Excuse me, what type of home occupation?
I'm just speaking hypothetically. I know that some types are permitted accessory uses and some are special permit uses. There is no proposal for any home occupation at this time. I'm just simply wanting to not foreclose my client from pursuing a permitted use if at some point in the future he wanted to.
I think we'd say no eating, living, or sleeping.
There's no water or sewer there anyway, right?
I honestly, I don't know where this village water ends, to be honest.
And of course, if any of those uses were being considered, we would have to appear before this board to request approval of
I mean, because we are,
those
you
types
know,
of
we're
uses.
looking at granting a very large, I mean, it's probably one of the biggest ones I've ever given.
Yes.
But we understand too that the barn was built in 1800s, you know, it wasn't built a couple
Right.
weeks ago. So, and we understand that your client wants to fix the barn up, wants to take care of it, wants to get it, you know, usable. rather
Insured.
than- So, you know, we know all this, and I think there was one other item that we wanted to discuss.
Well, one other thing, John, we might have missed it, is, might not have spoken it, no commercial storage is going to be allowed.
I said commercial business or
Does Mr.
storage.
Indorf plan to,
It's my understanding that this is a residential barn structure, and he would just be doing residential storage in this structure at this time.
Well, I mean, to be clear, it should be accessory residential use, right?
Right. I think that's how.
I mean, I think that covers everything, right?
I believe
I
so.
think so. And if there was if any use was gonna be looked upon later, they'd have to come back anyway, right? And seek, so,
You'll need a use variance from us, yeah.
I mean, just want you to be able to give it to, you know, your client to be able to insure it, to be able to do what he wants to do at this point, because, you know, I understand.
Yes, and
Sitting there.
that is the application before you. We're not asking for anything else right now. I understand, and he understands, that if we were to ask for anything in the future, we would have to come back before this board.
And was there something else, Thomas?
yeah, there was another item that I was concerned about, was the liability. And we had asked, well, I don't know, Rebecca, maybe would you like to speak to this? You want me to say what I can?
So, yeah, so we had talked about, you know, the town is the neighboring property owner, there's that little bit of overhang, and any access to that side will require really stepping onto the town's property. So really, that's a liability concern for the town as a property owner. And some, you know, informal feedback we received was that there probably wouldn't be an objection if there was an additional insured on the certificate. So that way, if somebody was doing work and they fell, then it's not an issue of seeking liability from the town. So I did have the opportunity to have a discussion with applicant's counsel today, and they had asked that the limitation on the additional insured really be related to when there's active building permits and work being done. I've shared that with the board. A couple of you have shared with me some of your comments and concerns. With that, I think that should be discussed here with the applicant and kind of flushed out.
I have a question about that. I mean, to go up and change a roof tile or a shingle, you don't need a permit. Clean a
Right.
window, you don't need a permit, but you can fall and get hurt, seriously.
That was my concern as well, is that maintenance, basic maintenance of any structure doesn't require a permit. You know, if we're just, cleaning the gutters is a great example.
How about a hold harmless letter? If anything happens on that property and they're doing work there, the town's not responsible for it. One letter.
Is the applicant willing to consider that? Because that would obviate the need for the additional insured constantly going forward.
Sure, yeah, I think the point that we discussed about additional insureds, we would necessarily have to provide the town with insurance certificates with any building permit. So we said, that's something that we would consider at the time we're pulling any permit. But to your point, I understand that there are some items that do not require permits.
Right.
Yeah, I think that a hold harmless letter is something that my client would be comfortable with.
So we would condition that be supplied to you guys?
And because the variance runs with the land, that would have to be noted in it, because upon a sale, we want to make sure in any sort of title search that
And that be
comes
filed
up.
on the deed, like a codicil or something.
Can I ask a simple question? How are town park properties protected now if somebody says, say, I don't know, a kid climbs a tree and falls out of it? What would happen?
What would happen is, depending on the circumstances, a personal injury attorney would probably file a notice of claim. The town would tender that to, I assume the town uses NYMER like almost everybody else does. NYMER will investigate it, make a determination. If they're unhappy, the individual sues. And depending on what type of policy the town has with NYMER, either the attorney defense fees are just part of the normal customary annual fee, or sometimes policies do require attorney's fees to be paid at certain times.
So
if there was liability, there would be a payment of, depending on whatever the deductible is.
Okay, so how would we protect ourselves if a employee of Mr. Indorf's, or somebody he hired, was to slip and fall off the roof and fall onto town property? How would we protect ourselves at that point?
Hold harmless letter.
Yeah, essentially, what we would be doing in a hold harmless letter would be stating that any injuries resulting from access on the, using that area to access the property, they understand that the town hold harmless, indemnify, and defend. So that essentially the town is not brought into the lawsuit. It would be tendered to his insurance company.
And is that acceptable?
Yes, is this something that maybe we could consider an access agreement and have that as a condition in the access agreement?
Well, that's what I was thinking when Barbara asked the question about it being in the deed is, and there's a different attorney for the town, but it would be very clean if the town just had a simple easement where that was all right in the document saying, you have limited access for the purpose of accessing for maintenance. I can't speak to what the town board will or won't do, but that would certainly put it in the chain of title to make it, make sure, because what I'm more concerned about is a future purchaser. I think Indorf is going to understand exactly what his commitments are because his attorney is going to explain that. What I'm concerned about is making sure a future purchaser is aware of what obligations are with this.
Would the board consider a condition kind of in the alternative, like either we enter into an access agreement with the town that encompasses this sort of limitation of liability, or provide a hold harmless letter, and that way we can discuss with the town's attorney what they'd prefer to have on the record?
I think that's a reasonable alternative. Would they be able to get a temp CO as that's working itself out?
You don't do TCO.
You don't TC, okay.
Well, first of all, he has nothing right now. He has
Oh,
to
that's
fix
true.
it.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't get the permit until this is straightened out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the time that it may take to get to the town board, because I know you're anxious to get this insurance on the
Yes.
property.
Sorry, so was your point that we wouldn't get the building permit until after that had been straightened out with the
Well, it depends
town
if-
board, or would we be able to say
Well,
as a
if he gets a building
closeout
permit,
condition?
they're working on it, so without a hold harmless or something.
Well, we'd be working on it under the terms of a building permit that we would provide contractors' insurance certificates, and those would name the town as an additional insured. So for purposes of the immediate future, I think the town would be covered in that respect.
You actually just took the words literally right out of my mouth, is during the point of the building permit, because it's required that they name the town as an additional insured on the insurance, we're protected during that period. So this can be a condition to the issuance of any CO, because you're going to keep that insurance active.
And that answers my question as to how do we keep the feet to the metal? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, so they
you
won't be able to
the
get a
building
C of O
permit,
without
How
it.
do I make sure
But that's a
it gets
permit,
done?
that's under a permit. We're talking about general maintenance, cleaning the window.
What we're saying is that the hold harmless or access agreement has to be completed before the CO. So
And
so
before the
pending.
C of O is done, insurance
Yeah.
would still be in place, right?
Right.
Because
So-
they would have to have
And
construction
the town
insurance.
has no liability that way.
So the town is going to be defended and held harmless from liability under the way this is set up.
So that, under that scenario, my client would be allowed to pull his building permit, do the work,
Yes.
but before we got a certificate of occupancy or
Yes.
completion for that work,
The
we'd have
CO
an
would be held
alternate
up
agreement in
until
place.
the lawyers work this out.
Because I don't think you're going to get on to, say, the next town board agenda. I think it's going to take a little time to kind of have the discussion and get this ready for them to look at. So I wanted to make sure there was a path here.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for talking through it.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone in the public that would like to step up and talk about this variance? In any way, shape, or form? Come on up. No, then can I have a motion to please close this public hearing?
One more question.
No, yes, sir.
Do we or do we not require a hold harmless letter right now?
I don't believe you need it now, because once they pull the building permit, you're going to have the protection as the additional insured pending working it out.
Okay, so the town board is going to become a town board issue.
They're going to decide which option. I think one of the options have to be decided, but the town board, because I can't speak to whether or not they're going to feel comfortable putting an access easement on the record when it comes to the parkland, so.
Just for this board, whoever pulls a building permit, we require insurance, and the town is always named in the insurance.
Okay.
So before this gentleman would get a permit, and we may actually already have his insurance.
You get a
pending
certificate of
this.
insurance, yeah, okay.
Yes, and we watch to make sure they don't expire before the work is done.
So then how do we condition the indemnity for the town?
So,
Because we don't know how the town is going to want to exert themselves on this, right?
So I think the condition would be that the applicant either provide a hold harmless letter or an access agreement. I think we're kind of leaning towards the access agreement only because it cleans up the chain of title. If there's a hold harmless letter, I think I'm going to have some discussions with the group about making sure that when a title search is done 5-10 years in the future, that this comes back. I mean, I in my experience, have literally done documents where I put big bold, "to be provided in any title search" for this reason. So that, because a clerk 10 years down the road might not understand the significance of it.
And we feel comfortable with this?
I think it provides the protection you need for the concerns you're expressing.
Yeah,
Is that good? And
Yeah.
does that answer your question?
yes.
Okay, so I think we have a motion and a second to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Okay, so we've closed that. Now, can I either have a motion to grant or deny this petitioner their request?
I'll make a motion to grant the request with the condition that either a hold harmless letter or a restrictive
Or an access easement
access
with.
agreement
Yeah.
be provided prior to C of O. Can the benefit be achieved by any other means? No. Again, this is a historic structure, we believe, that has been on the property for some time. To move it or remove a portion would basically collapse the structure. It's not reasonable to cut it back by the distance you would need to pull it off the property line. And you do have the benefit that it is city property and an open park on the one side, not someone else's property. No undesirable change in the neighborhood, as this has been an existing structure for some time. The request is very much substantial. There's no adverse physical or environmental effect, and the difficulty is arguably not self-created.
Second.
Roll call, please, B.
Mr. Delacorte?
Yes, that I would like to grant the variance.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. DeNaro?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzini?
Just along with the other two conditions, that this property will not be used as a commercial
Oh, yes.
business in
Yeah, I
any way,
forgot that one.
shape, or commercial storage, and there will be no dwelling. It will not be a dwelling. It will not be an apartment.
So residential accessory use only.
Right.
Yes. Unless and until there is further application to the board.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So that way they don't have to amend this variance, but it's clear in the terms of the variance.
Correct. And with those, then I say yes. So your petition has been granted.
Great.
I know it
Thank
wasn't an
you.
easy one, but
So I'm just for record keeping, the last condition was repeated after the rest, so I just want to make sure everybody affirms their vote.
does
Yes.
everyone agree with
Okay.
those?
Roll
Yes.
through again?
You don't have to do it roll call, as long as we have it on the record. I just wanted to get that clear, because I was going to interrupt for the same reason, so
Yep.
thank
Yeah,
you,
sorry
Chair.
about that.
Okay.
I think because we talked about it so much, we forgot to mention it at the, I think that's what happened, but thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Good luck with your client and
Good night.
Yes.
his barn.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on, for discussion, we have Donald Flood seeking area variance, 24037 District Regulation, R40 zoning district, where 50 feet to front yard property line is required. The applicant provide 46.7 feet for an existing front porch to remain, thus requesting a variance of 3.3 feet. The property is located at 105 Robinson Lane on 0.93 acres and is identified as tax grid number 6459-03-077339 in the town of Wappingers. Sir, how are you tonight?
Sir, good. Brian Stokosa, Dave Stokosa Engineering. Here tonight, as you mentioned, seeking a variance for a front porch, new construction build. There was an encroachment into the front yard. Somehow we didn't catch it, but we're here tonight seeking relief. Total of 3.3 feet.
Mr. Stokes, you have to,
The microphone, sir. Can you just bring the microphone a little closer to you? Thank you.
There we go. You hear me now?
Send a few bars.
Well, no, she'll come running out in a second.
It's that. Here tonight for a front yard encroachment for a new construction build on a front porch to a raised ranch. 50-foot setbacks required, we're 46.7. Don't know how we didn't catch it or what happened, but here tonight to ensure that this will not happen again, especially on new construction. But 3.3 foot variance is requested.
Great. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Well, as you can see, we had quite the night tonight.
Hopefully this is one of the easier ones.
So thank you for waiting it out, and I think it's kind of, we've done more than one of these in our past, and I think this is kind of straightforward. We just got to go out and take a look at it, really. I mean, other than that, I don't think there's anything else we got to do, right? Anybody have any questions? Anybody would like, any concern?
The 46.7 is basically to the concrete, is that what that's being measured to?
Yes, that's the corner of the front.
The corner of the concrete steps of the front? Yeah.
That's all, because we have had some issues where people measure to the deck, not the concrete land, not the steps coming down, that kind of stuff, and we just make sure.
We went to the furthest projection, so.
Perfect.
Just
So
come here once.
we would like to come out and see the property in
March 8th.
March 8th? Saturday, March 8th.
Saturday, March 8th. Do I have to be there for that one?
No.
Okay. just 'cause
As long as they know that somebody's coming, that we're going to be there.
Okay.
And if they could just please have the property line marked, the front property line, from the 47 feet? 46 feet?
46.7.
46.7 feet? If that could just be marked, so we can just get that, that visual, okay? We'll schedule this for a public hearing on
March 11th.
March 11th at 7 o'clock, at which time you see what we do.
See what we do.
And we'll discuss it, and if there's any issues come up at that time, we'll be sure to let you know, but it seems like it's a pretty straightforward variance to me, so.
Okay.
Anything further? And that's it for tonight, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry it took so long to get to you. I think March 7th or 11th will be a lot quicker.
Shh, don't say that. That's how you jinx it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great, thank you very much, sir. Okay. Good thing I ate my Wheaties. Is there anything else for the board tonight? Rebecca, anything you need from us?
Not
Barbara?
tonight.
So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
Second, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we are so adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. It's a good night.
You too.